In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about river terminology. Especially in rowing, there's not like a consistent set of terminology in a book somewhere. This is the terminology that I've used for most of my career, both kayaking and rafting, and what I think is just common verbiage. So I'm going to share some video with some commentary and the terms I think are associated with the things that I'm doing. This is the beautiful White Salmon River on a beautiful fall day. I'm going to share some quick thoughts about terminology here. The first thing is pushing upstream. This isn't done very common. I'm going slower than the current. I'm pushing. It's hard to do in a heavy boat, but something I am doing in a light boat just to be doing it. Next thing I'm going to do is get out in the current a little bit, and I'm going to pull to the next eddy. I'm 90 degrees the current, and I look at my downstream oar. I'm being very careful with it. I'm watching it. And so I'm pulling 90 degrees, but I'm being super careful with my downstream oar. I would say most people should not be doing this because of the downstream oar issue, but it's really deep there. Now I'm just pulling but at about 45 degrees. I'm ferrying. I'm using the current to ferry myself across the river. So that wasn't 90 degrees. That was about 45 degrees on a pull, which created a ferry. Same thing. I'm leaving the eddy. Started at 45. Now I'm at 90. I'm going to straighten out. There's an eddy down there I'm going for, and I'm going to push into it. I'm going to choose to push into it because it's going to be hard to pull based on the way I'm facing. And so I'm just going to kind of glide across the river and push into this eddy right here. This is a tricky thing to do. Your timing has to be absolutely perfect, and you have to catch this eddy at the very top. It's difficult to catch eddies on a push, and not something we're doing very often, but in certain instances it makes a lot of sense. Now I'm just waiting for safety. I went down, I caught an eddy, and I'm about to run a drop that could flip me, so I want the kayaks downstream. The kayaks are better at running drops like that. And so I launched before them, but I don't want to get ahead of them because they are my safety, and they're each other's safety. So here we go. I'm going to go down and line up for this really cool drop called Top Drop, the first rapid of the middle white salmon. And I'm going to do a left or a ship. You're going to see me get really close, bring that left blade in the last minute. The timing is key. I didn't ship my right oar. I usually only ship one at a time. When one oar is shipped and one oar is not shipped, you're very stable in the boat. If I had shipped both, I wouldn't be as stable in the boat. Now, there's two of our boater friends. They're jangling. This is them they're just chit-chatting. Their stuff isn't quite ready. Like if they weren't jangling, their boats would be in the water. But they're jangling, and you'll see a drink come out. I'm just going to test. That's not a beer. That's a yerba mate. If that was a beer, that would be irresponsible boating. And that's just that's part of jangling, is like finishing off your drink, doing things like chatting and, tying knots. Who knows? I don't jangle that much, but I think they're tying knots and doing things. I'm going to push upstream again. I'm going to push a ferry. I'm pushing upstream, and I'm ferrying across to this eddy. Again, not done very often. We don't push upstream that often. When I say push upstream, I mean I'm facing upstream like that and going slower than the current. I'm pushing against the current. It's not done that often. Here I am pushing down to another eddy. This is a fun little eddy. On the right, I have an oar suck. Because I have spinnies, my oar gets spun and it gets stuck in the water a little bit. If I had oar rights or pins and clips, that oar suck wouldn't happen. Again, it twists and it's hard to get out of the water. Now I'm going to push down to this next eddy. Again, the timing here has to be really perfect. You have to be right at the top of the eddy in order to catch the eddy. It is really difficult to catch eddies in a push, and it takes just a lot of practice, a lot of reps, and is not something you do until you have all those reps. I see so many people miss eddies on pushes like that. Now I'm going to pull. I'm going to ferry across the river on a pull. Again, I'm about 45 degrees to the river. I'm actually a little bit less there, but I want to cross the river. I'm not going to make that move on a push. I just don't have the strength to do it. So I turned around and pushed. Now I'm going to catch a really tough eddy with a lateral guarding it. So I'm going to downstream ferry. This is my most powerful way to catch an eddy. I had my stern downstream, and I pulled downstream to cross the lateral and catch the eddy. It was very quick, but that was if I tried to push into this eddy, I wouldn't make it. I just don't have the power to break through the lateral at the entrance and make it into this tight eddy. And again, I'm going to downstream ferry. This is another really tough eddy guarded by a little hole thing. I need power, and so I'm going to power into the downstream eddy, and that's it. Now I'm just going to wait for everybody to get going. We're all setting downstream safety for each other, and once we're all down in the eddy, we're going to head downstream. So that's the vocabulary that I use and how I use it. I feel like this is fairly consistent, but not 100% agreed on. If you think I'm wrong about some of this stuff, let me know. If you have more terminology you think is important, put all that stuff in the comments below. I'm trying to just gather the community and kind of have some agreements on the words we use to describe the things that we're doing. It's really important when we're teaching or just communicating on the river. That's it. Like, subscribe, do all the things, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks.